What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having an amazing day. In today's video, I've got some more classic entitled parent stories for you. Now, today's first post actually is from one of you guys, a viewer of the channel. So if you're watching right now, first of all, thank you. I love you. Second of all, your story's great. It's all about an entitled mum who wants her 7-year-old kid to get into an electric car and drive it, because apparently it's just a go-kart or a spaceship. Strange logic, I know. Let's get into it. An entitled mum wants to get her entitled kid to drive my new car. I got into Redditor videos a few days ago, and I remembered an entitled parent story that happened to me about half a year ago. Well, first of all, OP, you're an absolute legend for watching my videos. Second of all, guys, if you're watching and you are new to my channel, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. It's totally free and it makes me feel incredible, so thank you. Anyway, sorry for that. Let's get into this story. So, for some context, I bought myself a Mini Cooper SE. The first fully electric vehicle by Mini a few weeks before this story happens. Where I live, in Germany, electric cars need to have a so-called AVAS, which is Acoustic Vehicle Alerting System, turned on when driving below 30 kilometers per hour. The AVAS makes a sound to warn walkers and bikers on the street because electric vehicles normally don't make much noise. The one on the Mini Cooper SE kind of sounds like a spaceship. Now, this will be important for later. Can I just say, I actually had no idea that this was the case. I didn't know that electric cars were required to make a noise when they're going at a certain speed, below a certain speed threshold. That makes a lot of sense to me, because I've always wondered, cars that are silent, surely they're gonna, cause some crashes. That is genius. Now, onto the story. About half a year ago, we celebrated my grandma's 60th birthday, and I took my new Mini to get to the celebration. I didn't know who else was invited, but I didn't really care at the time. The ride to my grandma's place was long, and I knew that I needed to recharge at my grandma's place, or else I couldn't make it back home. So I arrive and I see a few people, including my entitled aunt and her entitled kid, waiting for me in the driveway. To park in the parking lot that they'd prepared for me, the one next to an outlet where I could charge my car, I drove rather slowly, because I'd only done this a few times before and I was extra careful. Therefore, the AVAS system was turned on. I get out, plug my car into the outlet, and we go inside to celebrate. After about 2 hours, I wanted to go and check if my car was alright. Remember guys, it was rather new at this time, so this was completely normal, and to get some fresh air as well. I go out and see the entitled aunt and her kid looking at my car. The following conversation went kinda like this. "Mummy, this car sounded like a spaceship." "I know, sweetie. I don't know why it does that though." Guys, can I help you with something?" "Is this your car?" "Yes." "My child wants to drive it." What? I can drive it for a bit and take him with me if that's what you'd like?" No, he wants to drive it. It doesn't look as complicated as a normal car, so I'm sure he can drive it. For some context, the Cooper SE has only 2 pedals and no gear lever because it's electric. Also, when talking about my car earlier, I said that it feels like you're driving a go-kart. I can assure you that he doesn't want to drive it. It's way more complicated than it looks. But it sounded like a spaceship, so it can't be more than a little toy. "I want to drive that spaceship now!" "Sorry, but I can't allow that." "Why not? You're just being selfish. Sure, you can drive for a minute or two in the driveway just here." "No, he's just a kid." "Well, I bet you don't even own that car. It sure is stolen or someone else owns it." No, I've literally got the keys." I pull out the keys and open the car. Big mistake. "Look, sweetie, and now you can get in." She picks up her son and puts him on the driver's seat. I'm very annoyed and angry at this point. "Excuse me, what do you think you're doing? You've been very rude to me and my little angel, so he deserves to drive your car." Now, the kid obviously couldn't start up the car because it was still plugged in, but he was messing around with the electronics inside, and he tried to actually start the engine multiple times. There's a yellow obvious start switch below the GPS system. "Would you please take your kid out of my car?" "No, he deserves it." That's where I'd had enough. I pushed the entitled mum aside and opened the driver's seat door. I take the entitled kid out of my car myself and put him on the floor on his feet. What does the entitled butthole do? He lets himself fall on purpose and then starts crying that I broke his arm while taking him out of the car. Of course, the mum then starts screaming and shouting about how close her son was to death. I really didn't use much force or anything. The other family members hear the entitled kids crying. Meanwhile, I unplug my car, get into it, and drive away. So OP's just off. He's out of here. That's actually quite a sensible solution, to be fair. If you stuck around and the kid was crying and it was two people blaming you, you could have been in a lot of trouble. So I think that was actually a very good idea. On my way back home, I had to recharge once. And that's where I called the others back and tell them what actually happened. They tell me that my entitled aunt tried to call an ambulance and actually was kicked out of the celebration. Oh, and also, just in case any of you are wondering if this story was fake or not, OP's actually said, if you tell me this is a fake story, I'll tell you that you're wrong. Thanks for reading. Well, that clears that one up then. Oh, and also, just in case any of you are wondering if this story might be fake, OP actually says at the bottom of this story, if you tell me this is fake, I'll tell you that you're wrong. Thanks for reading. Well, I guess that clears it up then. He also says in the comments down below that the kid would have been about 6 or 7 years old, which honestly just makes the story even more mad because what are you doing, woman? I don't understand. Has this lady never been in a car before? I mean, what does this lady not understand though, really? Driving a car, by the way, is quite hard, especially if you've never done it before. Even for me, right? I passed my test a couple years ago and I'm still terrible at driving. In fact, I literally haven't driven since I passed my test. But yeah, it's tough to do, especially in a manual car. Like, even if it's an electric automatic car, it's still hard. You gotta be aware, you gotta have common sense. You gotta be, well, the legal age, 17, 18, whatever it is in Germany. I don't know, but not 6 or 7, that's for sure. And even on private property, even in a parking lot, you're going to have to making turns and that sort of stuff and being able to look over the steering wheel and see where you're going. It's an obvious no. Why? And now moving on to our second story. A wild Karen got arrested with a felony. For some background, I'm a 35-year-old father of 2 boys. I have PTSD due to time overseas and have the physical scars to match the mental ones. I have an incredible wife that knows me and knows what situations I should avoid. My children are amazing, but this story revolves around my youngest son and my service dog. James, my youngest son, has autism, and we share a special bond because some things that set him off also put my teeth on edge. Spike is my English bulldog. He's my service dog. He's well-trained, lazy, judgmental, and overall uninterested in anything he can't eat. He's also very in tune to James and my emotions, and will provide a distraction when we get overwhelmed. Basically, he's like, oh, you're stressed? Here, scratch my butt. You'll feel better and I'll get attention. It's a win-win. So, now for the story. My family recently moved to Texas. Because we now live very close to an amusement park, we got memberships. Shout out to the park for being amazing when it comes to special needs. This particular park in Arlington, Texas has a special program for autistic people. They have rooms set aside to chill at if you're overstimulated, so you can relax, go back out, get overstimulated again, and around you go. That is amazing. With James, we also don't have to wait in lines. This is a huge thing and the cause of this story. The park has a pass that lets you skip most of the lines, and they charge an arm and a leg for this. However, with that pass, you still end up in a line of the hundreds of people that also have that pass. But James gets no lines at all. We get a special pass, and we go in through the exits. The worker signs the pass, and we go on the ride. James has a favourite ride, the log ride. There have been days that we'd ride the log ride over and over, then eat. We also have the food pass, which we pay for, then go back to the log ride. On this day, Tom, my eldest, and James wanted to go on the log ride. So we made our way to the exit and left my wife and Spike in the shade, because someone's got to stay with him, and bulldogs and rides obviously don't mix. As we were going into the exit, a woman started screaming at us. I've absolutely no hearing on my right side. Thanks, high pressure wave. So I didn't consider it worth turning my head to listen to. Now, because we ride this ride almost exclusively, the workers on this ride know us by name and sight. James even talks to them, which is rare. We go in, show the pass, sit and ride. This time though, Tabitha, I'll call her Tabitha because Karen is overused, good point. The woman that was screaming at us as we were walking in through the exits made her way to where the speedy pass ends at the ride, where a red shirt will check her pass and let her go on her way. But she didn't even want to ride. She just wanted to yell about us going in through the exits and how we are abusing the system. Now, anyone that looks at James can see he's all in a world on his own, and wouldn't be surprised if he's literally reading the future or talking to aliens. He's awesome. The red shirt tries to calm her down. Tom is getting upset because he's a normal 9-year-old and adults yelling is uncool. James is making his excited sounds and waiting for the log to stop so he can get in. We get in. And as we float away, we still hear Tabitha screaming. The ride ends and we exit. We figured we'd never see Tabitha again, but obviously, as I'm posting this, it didn't really go that way. Tabitha appeared like a dark brother after making the sacrifice, Elder Scrolls reference, hooting and screaming. She was screaming that just because James is an R word doesn't mean we get extra rights. The screaming causes James to let out his super screech. Now, anyone that knows autism knows that autistic kids have superpowers. In James's case, it's a supersonic, ear-shattering, high-pitched screech that makes your eyes swim and makes it feel like things in your head are moving that really shouldn't. This whole time, Spike was lying on the ground in the froggy position, as bulldogs do, just looking at Tabitha like she's a rabid dog, but not worth getting up for. As we are being screamed at, I see two officers approaching from behind Tabitha. I smile. My smile must have broke Tabitha, because she then hauled off and kicked Spike. This flips my switch, because now my family is literally under attack, and I start to react. Before I can make contact, Tabitha is already in the air, being half carried, half dragged away while being cuffed. Now in front of me is a well-dressed and annoyed-looking officer. He tells us he heard the screech and started heading towards it because they thought a ride broke or something actually bad had happened. I take the time to unflip that switch and examine Spike. He's limping and crying. I feel his hips and feel that his hip is dislocated. The officer asks what happened and we all explain what went on from A to Z. He asks if Spike is a service dog. I say yes. He smiles. I'm not really in a smile mood, but it catches me off guard. He explains that in Texas, to intentionally injure a service dog is actually a felony. By this time, park security arrived and issued a trespass order to Tabitha. The officers ask if I want to press charges. I look at Spike and I look back. Yes, I say. Tabitha and her tiny mouse-like husband start to freak out as Tabitha is loaded onto a golf cart. We hop on a cart too and leave to go to the vet. The vet fixed Spike and all is well. We went back the next day with Spike in a stroller. No one batted an eyelid and everyone loves the bulldog in a stroller. I let people pet him, he's a hoot, and the park is an amazing place. I've been contacted by the investigating officer and have given depositions. I may have to testify, but I look forward to sitting on the bench with Spike on my lap. Yeah, pretty extreme reaction there from this woman not getting what you want in a certain situation. I'm just going to kick a dog. Why? Well, I don't really know. It's not really something that I would do in that situation, and I imagine not something that many people would think to do, but she did it. Quite why she did it, I'm not really sure. A question, actually, for those of you that know about, the law and dogs in general. Is it therefore not a felony if you just kick a random dog? Does it have to be a service dog for it to be a felony? Because if that's the case, shouldn't it have the same sort of punishment if it's a dog or a service dog or just any animal? Kicking any sort of animal is a little bit mad, I think. But yeah, overall, Spike sounds like an absolute legend of a dog, and definitely sue this woman for as much money as she has, because kicking an animal, nah, that is just not on. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this one. Hope you have enjoyed it. If you do want more from me right away, please check out everything on screen all around my face. Subscribe up here for daily videos. And also, if you're a legend, you'll turn on the notification bell and get notified every time I post in the evenings of every day, as I post daily. Pretty crazy stuff. With that all being said, guys, I will see you all tomorrow, of course, with a brand new upload. And I hope you have a good rest of your day.